Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Chris Spiegel Show, where I share my thoughts, stories, and ideas about all kinds of different things. And today I want to talk about a couple of the updates that are coming, as well as my thoughts on the algorithm and content creation as a bigger picture thing. It all starts with this idea that I've been asked over and over again in the last few weeks and has been on my mind. I've been talking about it with a couple people, and that is the algorithm of YouTube or Instagram or any of the other social networks that is so often complained about, let's say. And I've talked about this topic before, about a year ago, maybe 1.5, something like that, when I was in the US, and I talked about that the algorithm really doesn't care, and you should not care either, because if you create what you create, and you are consistent, you're eventually going to build an audience, and the algorithm can't really do anything about that. I also think that a lot of the people that are always trying to get people to click the bell icon, subscribe because it's important for the algorithm and all those things, like, yeah, sure, those things may or may not be true, but I think that it's really holding everybody up if we're just fighting the algorithm instead of creating what we actually want to be creating. There's something to be said to create certain topics, or maybe something that is working for you in terms of virality. If content is working better than other content, you may want to focus on that. Yes, those things are true. However, you should only do those things if they also bring you joy. And if you are starting to make only the content that is important for the algorithm, but nothing is important to you anymore, I think then that would be something that you should check in with yourself about. And at the end of the day, there's this really cool quote that Matt Diavella shared on his Twitter feed at some point, and I've been keeping it up and also bringing it up every now and then, and that is, be so good they can't ignore you. And I heard this quote before somewhere else as well, so I'm not quite sure on the attribution. But being so good that they can't ignore you means to create the thing that you want to be creating and to do so no matter what. This is also an idea that comes up with the idea of sharing as if you are dead, or the idea of sharing whether or not someone is listening. And that is something that I've also picked up from a post from Derek Sivers, who talks about the idea of, what if you were the only person left on Earth? Would you still create what you are creating, or would you not? And that's one of the big questions, actually. Also, if you are in a similar situation to where I am. Right now, I'm in a really interesting place where I do client work, but I also want to more and more transition into doing my own work and my own business, running my own YouTube channel, doing Skillshare classes, those things. And also, I have the consulting business, podcast editing business, and just generally helping others with their business in terms of online marketing, as well as web development and social media posts, as well as structure and just overall consultation and improving those things. So now the hard task is to transition more and more into my own thing. There are a couple things that are going on with this. One, what kind of content am I going to create? What kind of projects am I going to focus on? And then the question inside of that becomes, do I do the things that are wanted by the market, or do I do the things that I actually want to be doing, the things that I actually am excited about? And I think I also saw this in a video a couple of weeks ago from Cody Warner, the creator of the No Small Creator community. And he actually made a video about the fact that he is quitting full-time YouTube. The funny thing with that statement is that I actually think that most YouTubers are more than YouTubers, and they're almost all of them doing other things next to YouTube. And for myself, I've been doing content creation as well as developing and consultation next to YouTube. And YouTube is a place where I can share my thoughts. And now what Cody Warner actually meant when he said that he's quitting full-time YouTube is that he's now starting to build a business next to YouTube again, and he wants to create the things that actually are his passion on his YouTube channel. And that is something that brings a powerful message, because what that means is that he can then start creating content that is more on his passion path rather than just for the clicks and just for the sponsors and those kind of things. And that is some dichotomy that I also find myself in, wherein I ask myself, do I want to make this video because I want to make it, or do I want to make this video because it is going to perform well for the statistics? Now, there's a really good reason to do both, and I am most certainly going to do both actually as well. Because that's not something that is a one-off kind of deal. It's not something that is very easy to decide between. And for myself, for example, I know that I want to be talking about gear and equipment, but I also know when I look at my statistics, they kind of coincide, because I actually see that my equipment stuff makes a lot of views. And that is something that I have to build on if I want to have this YouTube channel be a sustainable source of income at some point in the future. Now, I am already really in this really cool spot with YouTube that I am closing onto the 1,000 subscriber mark. I already have the 4,000 watch hours in the last 12 months that I need for monetization. Now I'm only reaching for the last few subscribers to hit that 1,000 subscriber goal to actually get monetized on YouTube. And that is a really big step, because that in some way brings a new kind of motivation to create content on this platform. And it also creates this question of what kind of content am I going to create? What kind of content is the one that I am passionate about? What is going to make views? What is going to resonate with you as an audience and going to resonate with me as the creator? So that is really interesting to play with that. But it's coming back to this idea of being really good at what we do. Now, I also have another thought on this topic and this statement, which is I sometimes wish I were better, and also I am really perfectionistic. So sometimes I actually need to take a couple steps back from my own perfectionism and start putting out the thing that is right there, right now. One of those things being, for example, if you look at this YouTube podcast or the podcast version of this show here, I am currently just doing what I am doing, and I'm not taking hundreds of hours and putting them into these creations if you don't count me just thinking about things. But it is something that I think is really necessary to sometimes just sit down, record something, and then publish that thing in a rather rough state. I don't have graphics, flashy things, or cuts and B-roll and all that edited stuff in here. I don't even have a real intro for this show because of those things, because I right now am in a position where I need to get a message out there. I need to create the content. I need to hit the publish button, and then I can start improving as I go further down the road. And the same thing is true for my YouTube channel, where I've been creating since 2016, and I don't really have a cohesive theme. And that is actually something that also keeps me excited in a way, but it is something that my perfectionistic self would create otherwise. However, if I were to stick to creating everything I need to finally have the perfect version, I wouldn't ever start. And this is also something that I say is an important step in terms of the algorithm. The algorithm actually reacts much more to regularity of content and also connecting with your audience, and over time building that community, building the people that are interested in your content, in your sharing. That actually makes a difference. And you building that audience will take time. It will take you to create content that then provides something to a viewership, and that viewership can stick around and connect with you. And over the long term, that viewership also is the one that actually likes your videos, watches your videos, comments on the videos, connects with you as a creator, and potentially even provide new business opportunities and such things. And these steps actually have led for me to connect with Fiverr in Germany, and it's also been the chance to connect with Masha, who is a blogger and Instagram influencer in Berlin, and now we are currently working on the Unshared podcast together. And those kind of opportunities would not have been there hadn't I started creating and putting my content out there, because actually those things are the pathways that lead back to me creating. However, the focus was never really on the algorithm. The focus was never really trying to hit some magical thing. And it's just about actually doing the thing and not considering all the things that could not work out for you, or the algorithm not liking you, or hiding you, or something like that. Those are really just procrastinations on holding you back and not actually creating what you want to be creating. And I think that that's really a shame, because we all need to see and hear from each other, and more so now than ever. Now, coming to a little bit more of an update in terms of what I'm doing and what is coming on this channel in my life and those kind of things. And that actually goes in line with the whole creation thing. And the main aspect actually is that I am doubling down on creating more content, creating more classes, and really working on that. I have been sick for a couple of days now, and I had a little bit of a cold and wasn't really feeling up to much motivation in the last few days. But I think that that's over the top now, and it's going to change very, very soon. I've been working on a couple of different projects the last few weeks that haven't really seen any light of day. I've been programming more than ever. However, I've been doing that on iOS as a developer for app development, and also for web services. And if you follow my content here on YouTube, you already know about the firmware notification service, as well as the calculators for aspect ratios and those kind of things, as well as Instaspaces. And those things are going to increase. And I now have 2 apps in development that I want to launch into the App Store at some point. However, right now the licensing and the work with Apple is trickier than expected, I would say, because now I have to sign up for a developer account and spend money on that. However, I currently have a focus on money making rather than money spending, at least for that kind of thing. And I'm not sure if those apps are going to earn that money back. So I'm kind of holding back those ideas right now and focus on the other things. The other things are actually creating more content for this YouTube channel. And as I've mentioned already, I'm going to keep creating here. And I am really looking forward to the 1,000 mark and the monetization starting to kind of like go into that game a little more, and also go into a little harder. One of the things that I am focused on in the creation right now is that I'm going to make more videos about topics that I know already have been performing well on this channel. And this may or may not be good for you, depending on what you like, what kind of content you like on my channel. But there are going to be topics about the EOS R that I am filming on right now. If you watch this as a YouTube video, that's the video that you see here. And I'm going to generally speak more about equipment, for example, the Rode Video Mic NTG, as well as the podcasting equipment that I'm using here, the monitor, and all those kind of things. So the equipment is going to be a little bit more of a focus, and all that next to the podcast episodes and so on. Next to that, I also will have podcast guests, and I have the preparations for those already going. I've made a couple of plans in terms of scheduling remote interviews as well as in-person interviews, and planning all those things out so that it can start rolling out in a couple of weeks from now. So that's going to be a huge change for the podcast, but also for the YouTube channel, because of course I'm going to publish those episodes on both of those channels for you to listen or watch. And that's going to be a huge step, because I think that that's going to be a really interesting way of connecting with people, as well as giving information to you out there in terms of the backstory of certain people, as well as how they got where they are now and what they're doing to stay there, or how they're developing further, what they're doing with their lives and those kind of things. So that's going to be a really, really cool part of the content creation on top of these things as well. And lastly, the topic that I've been talking about for months now is that I am back in the focus seat for my Skillshare classes, specifically about podcasting. Now, there is this whole topic and idea of whether or not I should just post those things on my YouTube channel after I get monetized. However, I think that there is certain content that is probably going to work better on Skillshare as a platform, because it can be more valuable there, and also to find an audience that is already looking for classes rather than the content that I'm going to make on YouTube. And they kind of will populate each other and help each other, because I think that that's going to be a quite powerful connection to kind of like have those things work together. Now, with all that said, I am really excited for the next few weeks where I'm planning to really, really work harder and work more in bringing you all these experiences and bringing you all this content that I'm planning to bring more of and create more of, to just put those things out there, connect with you, answer questions, and be helpful to you as a community. And if you have any of those things and you have thoughts about the stuff that I'm creating, please feel free to connect with me either directly. You can find information on my website, or comment on the YouTube videos that I have about the different things on this channel, so that you can connect with me and I can reply to you on those notes. And I'm going to try to be as quick as possible in replying to those things. And then we can have a real cool community effect here and come together to share those thoughts. And yeah, that is going to be my main focus for the next few weeks, as I am more and more trying to transition into a world where my own work and my own creations are going to make a living and actually earn that money that I need to sustain myself. One last thought on that note, because I just thought about it again, and it's something that is not very easy or never really easy to mention, but I also have a site where you can support me directly with donations, which is run through buymeacoffee.com, and you can find that link in the show notes or the video description as well. It's under the support or Patreon area. So if you want to help out with that, that would be hugely helpful, because it right now is a really tough choice to make the focus on these YouTube videos as well as my own content rather than the client work. However, it's some move that I really am excited about, and bringing more of this is something that I really desire. And this is kind of tying into the talk about the unconditional base income that I've been recently sharing about. This is really something that I think would help. However, we don't have that kind of situation, so we have to make this ourselves. And if you can help me in regards to this situation, that would be hugely beneficial. And I would be really, really grateful for anything that you can contribute if you want to. And other ways of contribution, of course, as always, include sharing these videos, sharing the channel, sharing what you think, leaving a comment, liking these things. Those are, of course, also helpful. And I'm really, really grateful for everybody who connects with me. And that is something that I'm really excited about and passionate about, especially with the onset of more people joining the subscriber base and listenership and those things. So with all of that said, I really look forward to connecting with you and sharing this journey with everybody and growing into it together. There are sometimes ways that these thoughts can contradict each other or feel contradictory in terms of not caring about the algorithm and creating the content that you want to be creating, and at the same time creating content that actually just fits into the algorithm as well. The same thing applies to everything in life, and I think that that's really something that is an interesting pathway to navigate. And as I am navigating this environment, I'm really glad that you are with me on that journey. And lastly, I want to just inspire you to connect with me or create the content that you want to be creating. Don't let yourself be held back by the algorithm or any of the other things. Create what you want to be creating, and also check in whether or not you want to be creating something because you want to make the money, or if you want to create something because you actually want to be creating that thing. And if it aligns, that's great as well. I look forward to hearing from you, and I will see you in the next one. And I'm really excited about everything that is coming, and I hope you are too. Ciao, ciao.